Apparently, they haven't updated my hotspot data, and I am not happy about that at all. I am not happy. So I've come to this point where I need some tech support, because this is getting on my nerves. I don't know what's going on with my hotspot data or why the connections are bad, but it's really freaking annoying. The everyday videos are fine, but it's starting to get to where I need a tech team, because these problems keep happening over and over. And I really want to have a call-in show, and I really can't have a call-in show right now because for whatever reason, the connection keeps buffering and being stupid. So I can't have a call-in show because whenever I connect through my laptop, it don't work. So I got to figure out something better. But I'm still going to go through my top 25 real quick. I apologize that nobody can call in right now. It is what it is. Not happy about it, but show must go on. I do have the, if you haven't checked it out already, I do have the Iowa at Iowa State game and season predictions for both teams, because that's how I'm doing it. You have to be different somehow, and that's how I am going to do that. Yeah, the Marcus Hamilton commit is a big deal. I need to do an update on our recruiting rankings and what we've gotten through Neil Brown. Dude is recruiting his rear end off. He's getting massive recruits, considering West Virginia. All right, so forewarning, I apologize. The call-in show can't happen tonight. I'm still having Wi-Fi issues or whatever, but I still wanted to go through my preseason top 25 rankings. And like I said in my attempt to do a live show earlier, is give you my updated top 25. I try to do like 3. One maybe a month after the season ends, and then one kind of when summer starts, and then one right before the college football season gets underway. Things happen in that amount of time because injuries, people opt out, people declare for the draft, transfer portal, all that stuff. So this is my, as of right now, top 25. It's probably different from the one that I did a few months ago because I couldn't find the notes. So it is what it is. We're going to start off with number 25, Louisiana. Some people have Louisiana higher than number 25. I think Louisiana is a quality team, and they have an amazing quarterback in Levi Lewis. I just think they benefited from their schedule last year as far as it being shrunken. They did beat a good Iowa State team, but they beat them at the beginning of the season. Iowa State, for whatever reason, gets off to a slow start almost every year. So I think Louisiana caught them at the right time. So that's why I have Louisiana at number 25. But I do think they are a quality team. Number 24, you're probably going to think this is a homer pick. I had to put West Virginia at number 24. Main reasons: the offense going to take a step forward this year. Letty Brown's going to be a beast. We add Wyatt Millum to the offensive line. Our wide receiver core, super deep. We might have one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12 besides Iowa State. I think theirs will be number 1. We might be right behind them. And the defense, slight step backwards, but a slight step backwards from elite is still really, really good. And we get KJ Martin back. That was the big complaint from last year. In comes Tyke Smith. We didn't see that happening. He transfers to Georgia, and we get KJ Martin back. So it's pretty close to an even swap, but maybe not quite. That's why I have West Virginia number 24. Number 23, I have Indiana. Some people have this team higher, and I do think Indiana does have talent. That's why I have them ranked. But I put them in the same category as Louisiana. I think they benefited from a shrunken schedule last year. I think this year is when they're really, really going to get tested. They have some tough games. Right off the bat, they have to go to Kinnick Stadium to take on Iowa. I have that as a loss for Indiana. So, if that happens, that could get their season off to a rough start and their momentum go down the drain. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think Indiana's still a bowl team. I think it is. But I can't put them any higher than number 23. Number 22, people are overlooking this team. TCU. A Gary Patterson coach team can only stay down for so long. And they still had an okay season last year. Remember, TCU finished, even though West Virginia beat TCU still finished above West Virginia in the Big 12. So they didn't have a terrible season. I think this is a very uptick season for TCU. They're going to be solid. I think they'll definitely be in the top half. I'm thinking, I think it's going to be a fight between West Virginia and TCU for that third spot. I know a lot of people are saying Texas. I think there's just too much switching around. I still have Texas going to a bowl. I would put Texas maybe in the 5 spot. I think Texas loses both to West Virginia and possibly TCU. That's going to be a good game. Number 21, USC. Why do I have them this low? I do not trust USC because last year we saw they went undefeated during the regular season, but man, did they look bad. And what was it, 5 or 6 wins? I mean, that's half of a real season. And then they go to the Pac-12 championship and lose to a bad Oregon team. Oregon got to the Pac-12 championship by default. They were not the best team in the Pac-12 North. They got there by default. There will be a team that's missing in my list that a lot of people have in their list, and that is Oregon. No, I do not have Oregon in my top 25. I do not understand why people are raving about this team. I understand they have a good coach, but they have major questions at the quarterback position. That's good enough for me to leave them out of the top 25. Now, they could earn their way into the top 25. That's a possibility. And I'm not saying Oregon's going to be a bad team. I don't believe the hype on Oregon. I just don't. USC at number 21. Keaton Slovis has got to be more consistent for them to be higher on my list. That's the bottom line. Number 20 on this list, Coastal Carolina. I have Coastal Carolina ranked above USC. They have Grayson McCall coming back. The bulk of that defense is coming back. And last year, I know I kind of put them in the same category as Indiana and Louisiana, but Coastal Carolina beat some really good teams. I mean, they beat a really good BYU team and some other really good teams in the Sun Belt. That was, I think they actually beat Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I got to think. I think they did, but I'm not for sure on that. But Coastal Carolina proved their worth last year, I think. And I think they earned that top 20. Defense comes back intact. Grayson McCall is a top 10 quarterback in the NCAA. He really is. Number 19 on my list, Iowa. And it's all because of defense. If their quarterback was more reliable, I think Iowa would be a top 15, knocking on the door of a top 10 team. But 57%, and I think it was 9-5 as far as touchdown to interception ratio. That's not good enough for me. And their running back depth is very shallow, and their wide receiving depth is shallow. Great defense, though, and that's what they rely on. They rely on that defense, and that's what keeps Iowa from falling completely out of my top 25. I think it'll be a battle between Iowa and Wisconsin in the Big Ten West, and I think Wisconsin is going to be just a little bit better. Not to mention the game that they play against each other, going to be in Madison. Advantage, Wisconsin. Number 18 on this list, Liberty. Coach Hugh Freeze doing something really, really special at Liberty. Don't be surprised if an SEC team comes knocking on Hugh Freeze's door. Kids are stomping around. And tries to bring him back. I was kind of shocked that Auburn didn't try to get him. I think that would have been a really good match for Auburn to go out and get Hugh Freeze. I mean, look what he did. He took an Auburn quarterback cast off in Malik Willis. Yeah, Malik Willis used to play for Auburn, but Auburn's like, you're not good enough for us. He goes to Liberty, and Hugh Freeze has turned him into a star. So, yeah, that would have been a great story if Hugh Freeze. But then again, that would have kind of been slapping that quarterback and saying, I'm going to the team that turned you down. So I take that back. I would not have liked to see that. But eventually, an SEC team is going to grab Hugh Freeze back. Number 17, Washington. Yeah, they have a decent schedule. They're going to do good. They were the best team in the Pac-12 North. They're the best team that's not being talked about in the Pac-12. It's all about USC and Oregon. Last time I checked, Washington was the best team in the Pac-12 North last year. And had they gone to the Pac-12 championship, I think they would have had a really, really good shot to beat USC. But they couldn't make it because of COVID issues. Oregon got in, upset USC, and Washington, forgotten. Well, they're going to make you remember this year. Washington's going to be a good team. I think Washington is a 10-win team this year. I do. I think Washington's a 10-win team. Next up, number 16, Penn State. This is another short memory type of team. You only remember what happened last year. You don't remember what James Franklin did the 4 and 5 and 6 years before that. 10-win season, 10-win season, 10-win season, 11-win season, 12-win season, win the Big Ten, 10-win season, 11-win season. Not to mention, when he was at Vanderbilt, James Franklin won 9 games. That is dang near impossible to do. A coach that can go to Vanderbilt and win 9 games, that's a good coach. Yes, Penn State, big bounce back year this year. I think Penn State, another team that could possibly have a 10-win season. The only thing that makes me pause about that just a little bit is Penn State has a pretty tough schedule. But I still think a 9-3 season is doable for Penn State, and it would still be in the category of big bounce back. I'm looking at 9-3 for Penn State. I think they're going to be a quality team. Number 15 on this list, LSU. Miles Brennan looked better and better as the season progressed. Those wide receivers starting to get their hands. And I think the defense is going to take a step forward too. I really do. LSU, their schedule isn't brutal. I've already done their season prediction along with UCLA. I have LSU as a possible 10-win season. Their schedule is definitely doable. I think their only losses will be to Alabama and Ole Miss. Seriously, LSU going to be a quality team. Not sure about a top 10, but they're going to be on the rebound, and then maybe the year after that they could have a special season. We'll see. Number 14, Miami, and this all hinges on De'Aaron King. De'Aaron King. The health of De'Aaron King will decide whether Miami is a top 10 team or not even in the top 25. That's how important this guy is. What I'm hearing is that he's killing, in a good way, his rehab. In other words, he's coming back strong, fast, healthy. So they're thinking he's going to be around 100% versus Alabama. My concern is that Alabama defense is going to be nasty. They could sack him 4 or 5 times. I'm not worried about his health going into the Alabama game. I'm worried about his health coming out of the Alabama game. So that's why I kind of settled on number 14. I'm not quite sure about Miami because it does depend on De'Aaron King. Number 13, this is also a team that I think is a little underrated. Arizona State. They started to come on strong towards the end of the year. Jaden Daniels is a stat machine. I think he's a dark horse Heisman. I think Arizona State has the potential to step over USC and win the Pac-12 South. The Pac-12, here's what I'm thinking. Pac-12 championship, I should say. A lot of people are saying Oregon. I guess that's possible. So it could be Oregon against USC or Oregon against Arizona State. But I'm leaning Washington. I'm high on Washington, low on Oregon. So I think it's going to be Washington against Arizona State. That's tough to pick because the consensus is USC, and I get it. But Arizona State is going to have more talent. And I think as far as playmaking abilities, Jaden Daniels is better than Keaton Slovis, and I think he's more consistent. So that's why I have Washington versus Arizona State in the Pac-12 championship. So if that were to happen, don't be surprised because you're hearing it here first. Things happen that you don't see coming. But I watch trends, and I try to pick on things that other people are not picking up. A lot of people are hyping Oregon. Maybe that hype does come true. It's possible. Teams get hyped for a reason sometimes. I'm just not buying into that hype. I think Washington is a strong enough team to, I would say overtake Oregon, but Oregon didn't win it last year. They just got in by default. I think Washington will be the champs of the North, and Arizona State will be the champs of the South. But would it totally surprise me if it ended up being Oregon and USC? Of course not. It wouldn't totally surprise me. I just don't see it happening. Number 12 on this list, Texas A&M. Texas A&M schedule, not good. Not good at all. I think they're a 3-loss team. I think they lose to Alabama. I think they lose to LSU, and I think they lose to Ole Miss. That's not saying that Texas A&M is bad. Of course, I have them at number 12. I just don't think they're as good as other people think they are. So, yeah, that's why I have Texas A&M out of the top 10. A lot of people have them almost in the top 5. I have them at number 12. Number 11, this is another team, Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a brutal schedule this year. It's insane. So Notre Dame is possibly a 4-loss team this year. I'm not even kidding you. Notre Dame could end up losing 4 games. They do have some decent talent. Jack Cohn was doing great things at Wisconsin, but he hasn't played in over a year, so he might be a little rusty, and he's going to be playing some very stiff competition. Very stiff competition. So that's why I'm leaving Notre Dame out of the top 10. They do have talent, but Jack Cohn hasn't played in a while, and their schedule is absolutely horrific. Now I'm jumping into my top 10. Number 10, Ole Miss. Yes, I think Ole Miss takes that step and will kind of settle into that second place spot in the SEC West. It's going to be Alabama. I think Alabama will win the SEC West, but I don't think Alabama will go undefeated. That's important. Ole Miss, I think they grab that second spot, and the third spot will be a battle between LSU and Texas A&M, and I think by tiebreaker, it would put LSU in the third spot. So the way I'm thinking is number 1, Alabama, number 2, Ole Miss, number 3, LSU, number 4, Texas A&M, and number 5, Arkansas. So Ole Miss, their defense will be much improved this year. Their secondary is actually pretty good. They just have to get better against the run. The offense, of course, is going to be off the charts amazing. It's just that run defense. And I think that they're doing some stuff over there that will help with the run defense. Pass defense wasn't all that bad, actually. Their secondary is pretty good. But I have Ole Miss at number 10. Number 9, Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a top 10 team. Desmond Ridder is a top 10 quarterback. I think he can take Cincinnati undefeated. If Cincinnati does that, they would have wins over, I believe, Notre Dame and Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they don't play Notre Dame, but I do know that they play Indiana. Point is, Cincinnati would have some really good wins if they did go undefeated. If there's a year that a group of 5 team can kind of slip into the playoffs, it would be this year, because Cincinnati definitely has the ability to go undefeated, and if they do, they would have some wins. Yes, they do play Notre Dame. Okay, so if Cincinnati does go undefeated, they would have some good wins, including Notre Dame and Indiana, and both of those are definitely top 25 teams. So Cincinnati goes undefeated. If the playoff committee denies them, then something's up. We already know something's up, and the playoff expansion is coming. But that would I would be mad. I'm not even a Cincinnati fan, and I would be mad. Number 8 on this list, Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is possibly just a one-loss team, and even that one loss would be more like a slip-up, not just, they went up against a better team. I think Wisconsin is better than Notre Dame. I think they're better than Iowa. I think they're better than any competition than what they're going to play this year. I think Wisconsin wins the West. I think Wisconsin goes to the Big Ten championship. And if they can avoid that slip-up in the regular season, Wisconsin could be undefeated going into the Big Ten championship. And Wisconsin could be trying to get into the playoffs. We'll see. I have them at number 8. Number 7, Ohio State. Some people have them higher. I don't. They lost way too much on offense, but Ohio State does reload. So I had to put them somewhere. Number 7. Number 6, North Carolina. Offense going to be amazing. Run game, a little bit of a concern. They lost Williams and Carter, but I think they have enough coming back, and they got the transfer. Can't think of his name, but a good transfer, so I don't think the running game falls off a cliff. Number 5, Iowa State. If you saw my video today, you already know they're going to be loaded on offense, and they're going to be loaded on defense. Iowa State, they could have the best team that they've ever had in the history of Iowa State. The problem is Oklahoma is going to be pretty good too. It's going to be a great battle between Oklahoma and Iowa State. Number 4, Alabama. Alabama, perennial powerhouse. They lost a ton on offense. I think this is their tick-back year. They could kind of somehow back their way into the playoffs. They might be playing their best ball towards the end of the season, win the SEC championship, and boom, they're in the playoffs. That's how I see it happening. Number 3, Clemson. They will be tested right off the bat against Georgia. Georgia will be tested as well. Will the coaches win this game, or will the players win this game? If the players win this game, then Georgia will win that game. If the coaches win that game, then it'll be Clemson. Georgia has the better players. Clemson has the better coaches. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. If it's close in the fourth quarter, then I have to actually give the edge to Clemson, because the coaches, I think Clemson has a better coaching staff. But we'll see. Number 2 on this list, Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is the best in the Big 12. Oklahoma has the chance to go undefeated. The only pushback to that I would give is they do have to beat Iowa State twice. That's going to be super difficult. They get them at home during the regular season, but then they would have to beat them again in the Big 12 championship. But who knows? Maybe if they lose to a highly ranked Iowa State, and that's their only loss, and some other things happen, they could still get in. I don't know. But I still think Oklahoma is going to be a really good team. My pushback is Clemson does not have the better coaches. Clemson, 2 national championships. Georgia, past 5 years, no national championships. Georgia, top 2 roster ranking. Clemson, number 9, I think, roster ranking. So Georgia has had the better talent. Clemson has had the better coaches. I got to disagree with you, Jim. Championship speaks volumes, and Georgia has had the talent, but not the championships. Clemson has had the lesser talent compared to Georgia, 2 national championships, 4 appearances. Number 1, I do have here's the thing though. I do have Georgia number 1 because of that talent. The thing is, can Kirby Smart step out of his own way and not overthink things? What happens when Kirby Smart starts overthinking things? That's when Georgia loses. National Championship 2017, what happened? They were owning Alabama, though. I will say they were owning, but he started to overthink, and his plan turned to, it's us against the clock. We're just going to run the clock, and, hopefully we can just run this thing out. What happened? Alabama comes back, wins it in overtime throw. Kirby Smart overthought it. He didn't stick to what was working for Georgia. He went to grinding the clock, and it just did not work. Alabama had that great defensive front, and they ended up not being able to grind out the clock because Alabama is too good of a team to just be able to grind the clock out on. It's not going to happen. I don't care how good of a team you are. You're not going to just simply run the clock out on Alabama. Jim Hamrick, Clemson has had the easier road. I do agree, but eventually you have to get into the playoffs and beat some really good teams, and that's what Clemson did. Both times they won the national championship, they had to beat Alabama. Georgia has not been able to beat Alabama. So, I mean, that's the thing. Eventually, I mean, if you're going to win a national championship, eventually you do have to beat Alabama. There's no way around it. Even when LSU won the national championship, they had to beat Alabama in the regular season. And Kirby just gets in his own way. He's a fantastic recruiter, but he's not a good in-game coach. He's not good at making adjustments. He's not good at the overall game plan. Other than if it starts working, then he changes the game plan. It makes no sense. If he could just stop overthinking, Georgia could be a juggernaut. To be honest with you, Georgia could win a national championship every other year. But he has to stop doing that and going with what works, not going with what Kirby Smart thinks is going to work. So, it is what it is. So hopefully you enjoyed my live top 25 preseason preview. I will do another regular video on my top 25 probably 3 or 4 weeks before the regular season, and it will probably look different from what I gave you tonight, which probably looks different from the first one that I made because, like I said earlier, things change, injuries, transfer portal, opt-outs, all that stuff happens. So it's not that, I got it wrong, nothing like that. It's things happen, and things get switched up. But I do appreciate y'all hanging in there with me tonight. Even though, once again, I had technical issues at the beginning of the show. Wanted to do a call-in. I did get C-Dog in, but I don't know. I don't even know if half of y'all heard it because y'all said the audio and the video was being glitchy. So I don't even know if that went through. So I'm gonna talk to some tech people. I know D4's on here. I know he's a tech person. I'm gonna talk to him. C-Dog, the person that I was on the line with, I'm gonna talk to him, and we will get this thing figured out. I promise. Because the call-in show is a very important part of what goes on here. It's not just about my voice. I want to hear y'all's voice and get y'all's take on it too. I'm not one of these YouTube shows where I'm like, what I say is right no matter what, and I'm going to disagree with you no matter what. No, that's not it at all. I'm going to have my opinion, and I'm going to feel strongly about it. Doesn't mean I'm right. Not at all. So I like to get y'all's feedback. But I'm going to jump off here, guys. Spend some time with my wife and probably watch some TV. Get the kids kind of hyped down. It's summertime and they're going crazy, but you still got to get some sleep in the summertime. I'm not saying, 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock school year. They can stay up till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. But I'm telling you, if you don't say something, kids will stay up till 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't remember doing that when I was a kid, but maybe I did and I just don't remember it. I don't know. But, yeah. Y'all have a good night. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight. And we're gonna try to do it again on Saturday as far as the call-in. And at least y'all know I have a backup plan. If the call-in don't work, I'll end the stream and we'll do it like this. Because I'm not going to force a low-quality, glitchy audio in, video out, stuff like that. I'm not going to force that on you. If it's not working, you let me know. We, get off that and do this, even though I'd rather do a call-in show. 9 o'clock on Wednesdays and 9 o'clock on Saturdays. And by the way, if you just ran across this stream, you're like, man, what is it? Going to Bluetooth. I do college football videos every day, regular videos. We eclipsed 1,000 subscribers 2 months ago. I've got great subscribers and live shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So hit the subscribe button, see if you like it. If you don't, you can always unsubscribe, and it's free. Anyways, I'm done yapping. Y'all have a good night, and I will see you on Saturday night.